The Ministry of Sports and the National Youth Authority have announced plans to complete abandoned youth centers across the country. Now, my colleague Kevin Asima has more.
The government of Ghana launched the multi-purpose youth resource centers in 2017 to provide young people with modern recreational and career development facilities. The initiative, led by former Youth and Sports Minister Isaac Kwame Esiama, aimed to construct 10 centers with various amenities including FIFA standard football pitch, an athletic track, courts, administrative offices, and ICT facilities. Despite the initial plan, only 2 out of the 10 centers have been completed 7 years later. The remaining 8 projects have either stalled or been abandoned. The Navungo Youth Resource Center in the Upper East region, the abandoned facility, has deteriorated significantly, becoming a habitat for pests and reptiles. A recent fire caused by overgrown weeds further damaged the center by destroying seating and electrical installations. The Yendi Youth Resource Center in the northern region, originally meant to serve as a youth resource center for the Eastern Corridor, the project is now abandoned and overrun by weeds. Installed fixtures such as chairs, ceilings, and air conditions have deteriorated or been stolen due to neglect. The Doma Hinkro Youth Resource Center in the Bono region, construction remains unfinished and some of the installed seating has been damaged due to prolonged exposure to the weather. In the Volta region, work on the project, which started in 2017, was abandoned midway. Construction briefly assumed in early 2023 to prepare the facility for Ghana's 66th Independence Day celebration, but the project remains incomplete and unused. At the Axim Youth Resource Center in the Western region, the facility was about 90% complete by 2021, with seating, a pitch, and tartan tracks installed. However, the contractor abandoned the site, locking up the facility. Years of neglect have led to further deterioration with overgrown weeds and decaying infrastructure. The Azuma Nelson Sports Complex also hosts one of the Youth Resource Center projects in Accra, which is now deteriorating. The Ministry of Youth and Sports has been split into 2 separate ministries, the Ministry of Sports and Recreation and the Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment. This change has led to public concerns about the future of the Youth Resource Centers.
The Youth Resource Center in Ho, if it's working, we can equally use it as a training ground where we can unearth talent. People who have talent in football and other sporting related activities, they can go there and develop their talents. But as we speak, the place is just at the mercy of the weather.
Looking at this $1 million project left behind rotten, at least we are appealing to the government to give us a second look, so that at least it will be put into use.
On that resources center, I feel it should be maintained. Proper structure should be put in place, proper facilities. When you talk of a sport facility, it shouldn't be only the football field, only the tartan tracks.
It's a commitment that we've made that we were going to build that and even more. We will look into what has happened. There have been some concerns that a number of persons have raised to do with some of them, not just construction timeline, but some level of corruption that people have raised to do with all those areas. We will look into it.
In an interview with ChannelOne News, Osman Abdullahi Ayarga, the CEO of the National Youth Authority, explains the intended purpose of the project and the authority's plans.
Those recreational centers were called youth development centers. They were not called stadia, so they've never really been a property of the Ministry of Sports or facilities for the Ministry of Sports. They were what you call youth development centers. So these were facilities being owned by the National Youth Authority. And if you read the National Youth Authority Act, it allows for the authority to own property. It allows the authority to be able to generate what we call internally generated funds. So these are facilities that were put up by the National Youth Authority.
The Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment, George Opare-Addo, reassures the public that the government is committed to completing and utilizing the youth resource centers for the benefit of young people.
We intend to complete them because it's going to serve young people. And like you rightly said, 2 have been completed. The one in the Upper West region is completed, and the one in the Eastern region is completed. We've done an assessment. I've met the National Youth Authority CEO and his deputies, and I've asked them to do an assessment of what needs to be done. I'm sure by the end of this week or early next week, I should receive a report from them Based on that, we'll sit down with the finance ministry, sit down with government and the relevant agencies, and also our donor partners to see how best they can help complete it. Because the centers are such that once they are all completed and put to use, it will go a long way to benefit young people. And it also has, it's not just, it has a recreational center as well, where young people can go and meet and connect. And also a skills development place where they can go and learn and acquire the various skills that they require. So it's multifaceted, and it's a place that will go a long way to help. The two that are already done, I've asked that they bring a proposal on how they intend to run it. Once we look at it and we okay it, it'll begin to run, and we intend to operationalize the two that are already in the coming days.
Osman Ayarga also states that the authority plans to begin work on commissioning new projects in the 6 newly created regions.
Irrespective of the ministry we fall under, we go with our assets and our liabilities. We don't leave any behind. So the 10 youth development centers that were being constructed, of which only 2 were completed. You and I know of the promises of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to make sure that uncompleted projects will be completed as well as new ones constructed. So based on the promise of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, I can tell you emphatically, without a shred or iota of doubt, that we shall complete all 10 or the rest of the national the youth development centers, and also construct new ones to take care of the 6 other new regions.
The Upper West and Eastern Regional Youth Resource Centers are the only 2 that have been completed out of 10 youth resource centers that were constructed under the National Youth Authority. The authority says it will assess work done in the remaining 8 and ensure their completion for the use of the teeming youth of Ghana. Reporting for ChannelOne News, I am Christopher Kevin Asima.